I already goofed it up.
I love big butts, like super louder. I love big butts.
It's time to smoke some butts. I love butts. Big butts, small butts, all butts. Okay, but seriously, today we're gonna be smoking a pork butt and coming at you with a pulled pork sandwich with a whole lot of jalapeno. It's gonna blow your mind. I'm Eric. This is Grillslingers. Buckle up. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Buckle up, baby. It's gonna be a good one today. So let's clear the air here. If you don't know why a pork butt's called a butt, you're not alone. It doesn't actually come from the butt. That's actually the ham. We still like that butt, but that's not what we're working with today. The name actually comes back from when our great and beautiful country was founded. Back during the Revolutionary War, when provisions were shipped, they were shipped in barrels that were called butts. So the name stuck with the pork butt. Why? I'm not really sure. Guys wore wigs back then. They had wooden teeth. They did weird stuff. But that's what we call them today. When you go look for a shoulder at your butcher or your local market, you're gonna find two shoulders. You're gonna find our Boston butt, your Boston shoulder, pork shoulder. It's located from right here. It's the top of the leg. It doesn't get a whole lot of work. You're also gonna find what's called the picnic shoulder. Picnic, that's actually the upper part of the leg. It's got some skin on it. It's not as tender as the Boston shoulder is. Still a great cut, but it's not what we're looking for today. We're looking for butt. And we always are looking for butt. Let's just jump right into trimming. You don't have to do a whole lot to it, but there's some things that you can do to clean it up and help you with your cook. So let's jump right in. Once you got your pork butt out of the packaging, should I keep saying butt or should I go with shoulder? Go ahead and grab a paper towel and just give it a little pat down. Usually gets packed with a lot of juice. You don't need a ton of it on there. Plus it's pretty sticky, so just get the fat cap kind of cleaned up down there. And we'll go ahead and flip. And on the lean side here, go ahead and pat it down. Really isn't a lean side of pork. There's just the one that has the fat cap and the one that doesn't. So what we're gonna look for when we're trimming is look for any cartilage or any bone fragments that might still be there. I like to use a skinning knife on this one. You can use a fillet knife, you can use whatever knife you got, just be careful. Pork can be a little finicky to trim once it's a little bit warmed up. It's a little softer, the fat can be harder to remove, so you just wanna be careful. Here, so we're gonna remove some of this right here. Yeah, we're just looking for anything that might burn while we're cooking, little flaps like this. Go ahead and just take that off. Want a nice, smooth, aerodynamic shape. Fun fact for you, a lobster is actually more aerodynamic than a Jeep Wrangler. I don't know what you're gonna do with that information, but you can have it. Now, you'll see some videos online where they'll do a real in-depth trim where they'll actually fold this open, take out some of that connective tissue. You can do it after you cook. It's really up to you on how you do it. I like to keep it pretty simple and just kind of clean up whatever we need to clean up on the surface. Yeah, so we're good on this side. We're gonna go ahead and just flip it over. So pork shoulder actually has what we call a false fat cap. It's got this top fat cap right here. It's got a thin layer of meat and then it's got another layer of fat. And what that does, that prevents a lot of the flavor and smoke from getting into the meat. So we're gonna go ahead and trim that. You can see this ridge right here. So go ahead and take your knife and you just kind of want to follow this ridge here with a small cut. And once we start working it back here, I'm gonna turn this so you can kind of see it a little better. We're just gonna kind of slowly work it back until you can see a little bit more of that meat. Now, if you expose what you feel like is a little too much, that's okay. Pork's got plenty of fat in it, and this is not something that's gonna dry out. So we've got most of that removed. We have some meat showing. What I like to do on this, especially to get this cooked to go a little faster, is I like to do a crosshatch. And what that does is it gives us more surface area on the actual meat itself to get more rub down on the meat, more smoke, and it's gonna cut down on our cook time. So you can take the skinny knife you've been using, you can take whatever knife you've been using, whatever you'd like, and just score it this way down through here. You can do that in about 1 inch sections. Now, obviously I'm not cutting just yet. And then you're just gonna bring it this way. Don't be afraid to go too far in. Just get it nice and scored, and that'll be ready for us to season once we're done. There. Again, we're going in about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. That's okay. What you'll encounter here is a little bit of resistance when you're at the bone. That blade bone, when we're done cooking, should just slide right out. And it's not really gonna matter much what's on top of it, so I wouldn't worry too much, but still make your score marks across the top of it. All right, so we got that first side done, so now we're gonna rotate it and go ahead and start scoring it here again. So you're gonna find pork shoulder 2 ways at your local butcher or market. You're gonna find it bone in, you're gonna find it boneless. If you find it another way than that, I don't know what to tell you, man, that's weird. But we use bone in. It gives us a better product in the end. I feel like it, retains more moisture. It's got better flavor. Use boneless. That's totally fine. You're not as cool as us. So we'll get this all prepped up though. Let's go ahead and jump right into seasoning. So in order to season a pork shoulder properly, most people will use a binder, whether that's mustard or like a type of vinegar. What I like to use is whatever a main component of my barbecue sauce for later in the cook is going to be. In this case, it's going to be a tamarind soba from Jarritos. So I like to just kind of take a spray bottle. I'll use the spritz bottle that I'm going to use later on in the cook, and just kind of spritz that down just to get it a little wet. So now we got our spritz done. We're going to go ahead and apply our seasoning. This is my rib rub. It's a little sweet, a little smoky. You can use whatever you'd like. This commonly goes on pork. We're gonna go super liberal on this. We're just gonna apply it pretty much everywhere we can get it. So don't be shy, go to town. Just like I always say, go nice and high so you get nice, even dispersion. Go ahead and just smack that butt. One of the things I love about pork shoulder and pork butts is that you don't have to smoke these with a barbecue seasoning. You can go real simple with salt, pepper, garlic, even like my beef rub that I use real commonly. And it becomes kind of a multi-purpose meat. You can kind of use it throughout the week with leftovers. Whether you want to make tacos, or you can turn it into like, spaghetti. You can really kind of just do whatever you want with it. If you make it with the barbecue rub, you can still do those things. But it's not a one-trick pony. It's really a very versatile cut. That's why I love butts so much. Make sure we're getting a total coverage on this thing. Cover all of that butt. Since we're going to be pulling this thing apart later, we're not doing an injection, but we want to get as much smoke and rub flavor in there as we can. So we'll even dust this with rub once it's pulled, just to get that flavor in there again. But make sure you're getting it inside the cross hatches, on the backside, just everywhere you can. So now that we got this all seasoned up, we don't need to worry about resting it. We're gonna get it right onto the smoker, where we're gonna run it on a vertical pellet smoker. We're gonna set it at 250 and we're gonna have it smoke for about 2 to 3 hours. Then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it in butcher paper and crank the heat up to 350 so we can get this thing going and you don't have to smoke it here for 24 hours. Every pork shoulder is a little different. But I mean, the last one I cooked, it took about 5-6 hours when I did it this method. Sometimes they take a little longer. You can finish it in as quick as 4.5 hours. We just want to make sure we get enough smoke on it in the meantime to get that flavor going. So for the first 2 to 3 hours of this cook, we're gonna set ourselves a 30-minute timer to come out, hit it with some spritz. I'm using my tamarind soda. You can use whatever you'd like. We just wanna make sure that we get a nice moist outside while the bark's forming. We wanna adhere that flavor. In the meantime, while we wait, I'm gonna put together a barbecue sauce with some tamarind soda and some other Jarritos. You can use whatever barbecue sauce you want. I'd say make my recipe. You can click the link in the description. Short video on how to put it together. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. It doesn't hurt my feelings that much. But I'm gonna go ahead and make my barbecue sauce. So we've been spritzing every 30 minutes for about 3 hours now. Our bark's starting to look good, so we're gonna go ahead and pull this out of the smoker and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it. We've got some pink butcher paper that we're gonna go ahead and wrap it with. So what I like to do is just instantly set out 2 layers on whatever work surface I'm working on. And be sure not to tear it like I just did. Usually recommend using scissors. So as you can see here, we're starting to get some really nice smoke, really nice bark here on the outside, getting a really great color. So this is when you want to wrap it. We don't want to get it much darker than this. So go ahead and just take your first side over here. We're gonna do this like a little baby burrito. We're gonna go side to side, like this. And then I kind of get a little tight. And we're gonna wrap it over, just like that. And it's gonna sit with that crosshatch down. We're gonna go ahead and put it right back here on the smoker. We're gonna crank it up to 350. And we're looking for an internal temperature of 203. You're gonna wanna probe for tenderness because some shoulders are ready to go as early as 198, some go all the way to 210. So this is the fun part, and we get to wait. So now that we got our shoulder back in the smoker and we got it cranked up, now would be a perfect time to put a slaw together for your sandwich. Now my wife Natalie's got a kick-ass slaw recipe that's gonna go perfect with our pulled pork sando. Natalie, get on up here. Show the people what you're working with.
Hi, so I made my jalapeno coleslaw.
Nice.
It's got pickled onions, pickled jalapenos, crunchy cabbage, red and green, and carrots. What do you think?
Oh my God. That's delicious. I really like that really bright acidity you got with the pickled red.
That's the whole grain mustard.
That's really good. This is all homemade, right?
All homemade. Today we're going all in. If you guys at home are running short on time, you can use a mixed slaw from the store. That works just as well. If you want to see this recipe and how to make it like we did today, you can see it in the description below.
Thank you again. I'm gonna eat the rest of this while no one's looking. We'll see you in a little bit, okay?
All right, have fun.
I love you.
Love you.
So, now we got our slaw ready to go. We're gonna wait for our shoulder to get up to temp. Once that happens, we're gonna pull it off. We're gonna put it in a foil pan. We're gonna wrap the top of that with foil. Let it sit for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then it's gonna be time to eat. So our shoulder just probed out at 203. So we're gonna go ahead and pull it off the smoker. We're gonna place it inside the aluminum pan that's been catching all the drippings throughout the cook. That's gonna help us reincorporate that flavor back in when we shred. And we're gonna go ahead and wrap the top of that with foil and place the whole thing inside our cooler for about 30 minutes to an hour. It'll hold for up to 4 hours. So that way, whenever you're ready to eat, you can go ahead and serve it. We're gonna go ahead and get to that right now. So we're going to wrap this twice because we wanna make sure that we keep all that moisture in there. Just a little baby pork shoulder. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Put that here. And my personal favorite part. Size matters sometimes. Sun's coming down, porch lights came on, it's time to come home. The pork shoulder's just about ready to take out and shred, but before we do that, we've actually got a great beverage that's gonna pair with our sandwich. Liz, why don't you bring whatever that is up, because it looks amazing.
All right, so I decided to make something that goes really well with the flavors of the day. But first, before I tell you about it, I want you to try it. Cheers.
Chin chin.
And tell me what you taste.
Oh my goodness, that's delicious. I'm getting like smoke, a little bit of like citrus. Obviously I'm getting the jalapeno. That is delicious. What did you do?
So once we said we were gonna do pulled pork, I decided I wanted to do a margarita because margaritas go really well with pulled pork.
I love margaritas. This is my favorite.
Same.
But that does not taste like a normal margarita.
It is not. You were right about the spicy and smoky notes. With that, when Natalie told me about her jalapeno coleslaw, I was like, why not do spicy margarita? So I made a jalapeno simple syrup from scratch, and then I also shook jalapenos in there, and I created a chili salt rim for the top as well to give it that little extra bite.
Nice. So where are we getting the smoke notes from though?
So the smoke actually comes from mezcal, and mezcal is a cousin of tequila. It's just it tastes smokier. It's delicious. Honestly, I highly recommend it. But I thought that would go really well with the spice and the citrus in this margarita.
So in other words, it's just a fancy margarita.
Yes it is. And I worked really hard on creating it, but if you actually want to see me make this margarita from scratch and find out the recipe, check out our link, follow our YouTube page, and I'll have plenty of more recipes for you as well.
Can I get another one?
I'm gonna go make your wife one first,
Oh.
but after that, sure.
All right, that works for me.
Bye, guys.
Thanks again, Liz, for the drink. We're gonna go ahead and just get our pork shoulder pulled out, and we're gonna go ahead and get to shredding. Let's jump right in. I can't take it anymore. We need to get this thing pulled out and shredded. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of the cooler. Ugh. Oh man, this is still hot. All right, let's go ahead and take that foil off. Look at that, our butcher paper is absolutely saturated. That's a great sign. That means we're getting a ton of moisture still inside here. So let's go ahead and pull that back. My goodness, this is about as tender as it's gonna be when you're doing a pork shoulder. Why am I saying shoulder now? I've been saying butts the whole episode. All right. So let's go ahead. First thing you want to do, pull your blade bone out. And if you get a clean pull just like that, you're gonna have some great pulled pork. We can go ahead and get rid of that. I'm just kidding. I need to throw that away. So you could totally shred this thing by hand. The thing is, it's gonna be really hot. So you can be a cool guy like me. Invest in some meat claws so you can look like Wolverine when you're coming up on set. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna shred this bad boy until we got a nice bunch of pieces. Jumping on in. Oh boy. So what I'll usually do right now, put these aside. I usually take a little bit of the rub that I've used to actually coat the outside of this, and I'll add some of that back in just to add even more flavor, and then we'll sauce it right before we build our sandwich. Now with that all done, we're officially ready to build our sandwich. All right, so we got all our components together. Let's go ahead and build a pulled pork sando. We got a brioche bun here. We're gonna take some of our pulled pork. Go ahead and grab a nice little handful here. I like to try to get as many of the little different strands as I can. I'll go ahead and just set it right there on the sandwich. It's okay if you get a little bit on the plate. That's just snacks for later. There we go. Take a little bit of our sauce that we made earlier. This is our Jarritos tamarind barbecue sauce. I'm just gonna drizzle it all over our butt that's in our buns. There we go, that looks good. Put it over the side. And then we got Natalie's jalapeno slaw that we're just gonna take over here barehanded because I just got that one open. Go ahead and put that on there. Go ahead and close that over. We got ourselves some pork sando, jalapeno slaw, and spicy mezcal jalapeno margarita. If you'd like to see this recipe and others that we've used today, feel free to click the link in the description. If you'd like to see more content that we're putting out, feel free to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Until next time, let's eat.